channel. I'm still decoding the blood moons. Actually, I went into looking at some of the previous blood moons, and I wanted to share this big revelation that I got from doing that. It's actually kind of like really exciting, and it all ties into this Rites of Spring, which is in the Fantasia movie and which ties to the ritual that was done in 1939 with the Eva Marie song being sung at the Lincoln Memorial, which was in my last video. So I went back and looked at that Fantasia movie, and I was quite shocked to see that the world is burning. They also have Noah's Ark in there. They do have Dionysus with the unicorn. They have the centaurs, which is Chiron, right? He's the teacher of Asclepius, the guy holding the snake in the Ophiuchus constellation, which is the doorway out of here. So I want to discuss a lot of symbolism that ties to the blood moon in 2022. There's two of them, but the May 15th one. And you guys are going to get blown away with the symbolism that ties to this blood moon. It's 6 months away. And I'm starting to think that the mid of tribulation is that blood moon. And the Pi Day is the end of tribulation. So we need to go in and look at all the symbolism that is tied to that. And Trump told us on previous blood moons the importance of them. So we're going to get all into that today. It also ties to the Alpha and Omega. It ties to the James Bond movies. It ties to the god Pan. Okay, so this is why this video is a little long, because there's a lot of information to go through, not a lot of reading, but I'm just showing a lot of symbolism through it. So stay with me, because this is probably the most important, one of the most important videos I've ever done to help you understand the symbolism of what's being projected at us for these blood moons. So this part of the 1940 Fantasia movie was cut out, and it was because it was threatening Christianity, because they had Dionysus, and you'll see the little donkey, he's a unicorn. They make him look like a doofus, but he is a unicorn. Now the unicorn ties to April 9th, when Martin Luther King got buried, which is the number 49, because on the 49th day of the fetus, the soul enters the body. I discussed that in my last video, and you get a DMT hit, okay, same as you would on mushrooms. They have the mushrooms dance in the Fantasia movie. They have the Noah's Ark, and which ties to the unicorn song, right, because the unicorn doesn't get on the ark. And they also have the world burning, and the green nymph, which would be symbolism to the green man, coming back and bringing the world back. Okay, so there's lots of symbolism in that movie, in the old movie. So you have to go back on YouTube. I'll drop the links, because a lot of these pieces were cut out of the movie, and it's really important to understand what the original movie represented, which is really, you know, the Ragnarok. It's like the end of times, right? So when the world kind of burns and souls are separated into two different realities. Some are unicorns, some get on the ark. If you're an awakened soul right now, you need to be feeling like the unicorn, or you are feeling like the unicorn, like you're isolated, you're, you know, not noticed, you're invisible, right? So you're not on the ship with everybody else. You're rejecting the ship and being the silly unicorn, but it is the path, because the unicorn disappears from this realm. In Gematria, unicorn ends up coming to 94, which is the reverse of 49, which is National Unicorn Day is April 9th, because of the number 49 relating to the soul. Lots of other symbolism with the number 49 here. Washington, Super Bowl, Donald J. Trump, Dallas, America, Eagles, Revelation, the number 24, which is Zeus, Jupiter's alchemic symbol, Twin Towers, JFK, and the Lord, all number 49. 49th parallel is the border between the US and Canada. Bob Dylan just came out with a song called Days of 49. And of course, in football, you have the 49ers that happen to be in San Francisco, where the Golden Gate Bridge is, right? And that's the Golden Gate is where the nebula of, not the nebula, but the golden egg of the Milky Way crosses the ecliptic, which is at Christmas, right? That's the Golden Gate in the sky. And of course, the Trump campaign used Trump's face on a 49er, so it's just funny, it's like it's an important number because it has to do with the soul, and it's the unicorn. So my interest got piqued when I saw this asteroid that NASA is talking about that's coming into close to Earth on May 6th in 2022. Now this is called the 2009 JF1, and it has a 1 in 3,800 chance of hitting Earth. And if it does hit Earth, it's like 150 Hiroshima bombs going off. So it's in conjunction with Jupiter and Neptune and Venus, all on the tail of the whale. Tail of the whale is important because that's the spring equinox. That's where the sun is. And this also ties to Pi Day, the location of this part of the sky. Cetus is the beast in the sky, right? And Pisces is your spiritual journey. It's your souls, your two fish. So the constellation's Pisces, but it's like the tail of the whale because the beast is below Pisces. So this is an important location in the sky on May 6th in 2022. So it's like 6 months away. Osiris, the king, he's in the Silver Gate, which is between the horns of Taurus. Now here's the list of blood moons, right? And I really thought tribulation started on this year, actually on May 26th we had a blood moon, but I'm starting to think now that it actually started in 2018 on July 27th because Trump gave us some clues about that. So if that's the case, Pi Day would be the end of tribulation, where he comes back and saves all the souls that have to live through the 3.5 years of hell on earth. And then the mid-tribulation would be this blood moon on May 16th, which would be 10 days after this asteroid. If the asteroid does hit, it doesn't impact, would it, obviously that would bring us 10 days of darkness, right? So this is why this all ties into the 17th letter post, the 10 days of darkness. So I'm just going through this and seeing if there was any drops with Trump on these other blood moons, and there was. So I'm going to go through them, and it's really coded, and there's tons of movies relating to this blood moon in 2022. There's songs relating to it, and I will show you how it's all coded to this 2022 May 16th blood moon. The 2018 blood moon happened at 333, was in conjunction with Mars, right on the beginning of Capricorn. And this is where Pluto was on the founding of the United States, and where he will be again in 2024 on January 6th, where he makes his one whole cycle of 248 years. Okay, so that would be really connected to the whole esoteric symbolism of the beginning of the founding of the United States. So I'm thinking this is probably the first day of tribulation. Trump does this speech at the White House to these graduating students. And this is how CNN puts it, okay, or CNBC. They say, President Trump speaks at the Face-to-Face with Our Future event. And this was on June 27, 2018. This was the blood moon. Okay, and he mentions you got to know your path when you know what you want in life. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up what you dream, and know what you like and go for it. And if you don't like it, change it. But then he says, you could go to NASA and become a space cadet. And they all laugh, right? So, and then he talks about the wall also. So he brings the wall into it, and he talks about being a space cadet if you go into the sky. Then he does a rally that night and talks about the super elite are you and me. We're the super elite. Then there was an article written about what he was saying, and it says here, the wise man builds bridges, The fool builds walls. Okay, and the whole thing about the fool, you know that this is Alpha, the fool card. It's Uranus. It is freedom. It's Aquarius, right? Is what rules. Uranus rules Aquarius. It's knowledge, I know. It's the fool, right? So the fool is being represented in relation to the wall. Okay, now I'm going to get into that, why that is so important. The next blood moon was January 21st, 2019. And of course, that happens to be Martin Luther King Day. Now, we know Martin Luther King is all tied to the number 49 because they buried him on April 9th. And he, the day before, well, day he died, he said, "Can you please sing, 'Take My Hand, Precious Lord,'" right? So this all ties into Elvis Presley sang that song, Aretha Franklin sang that song, and they all died on August 16th with a Saturn-Sun conjunction. The song is important, and the number 49 is important. Okay, so he goes and visits Martin Luther King's grave on this day of this blood moon, the second blood moon, and it's unannounced. He just decides to do it. It wasn't on his schedule. He just decides to go there. So this is what he says. Today we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for standing up for his self-evident truth Americans hold so dear. And no matter what the color of your skin or the place of our birth, we are all created equal by God. Trump tweeted on Monday morning on this second blood moon. So this blood moon, really important location. Actually, it's where I was born. It's kind of weird, but it's on the Tegman star, which is your shield. It's your armor of God. And this, of course, the constellation Cancer is ruled by the moon, the only constellation ruled by the moon. And this would be the gateway of man, or the manger of Jesus is right on the back of Cancer, which is called the beehive cluster. Now, it happened at midnight. I have it at 11:11, like 11 minutes after midnight, but it's a midnight blood moon. Okay, so this is very important, and some Christians noticed the importance of this. So they had put on Facebook Live, blood moon at midnight, White House watchman. Okay, so they're watching. So they're saying it happened at 12:12. Okay, so they're saying, here are a few thoughts. First, I believe 12:12 speaks of a gateway into greater apostolic governance. Without knowing anything about the blood moon, we prophesize the entry through the apocalypse gateway at midnight on New Year's Eve, when Jamie Jackson following declared its time. So they're saying here, what I'm saying is it's the third year of the king of Cyrus. A message was revealed. This means something. So they're just like paying attention, right? These Christians are like, okay, there's something biblical going on here with this blood moon at midnight. So what's weird is that blood moon to this May 15th blood moon next year is exactly 12 days. So they're saying the moon was at 12:12. You could say that, I guess. But then, here we have 12 days from that moon to this other moon next year. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. Exactly 3 years and 3 months away. So we got 33. Freemason number. The Midnight Moon is actually a book as well, and this is hilarious. There's a midnight blood moon bliss. You guys know how I always go on about bliss, right? And so then we get into the clock, and all I know is the midnight hour, because of Cinderella and her reality changes at midnight. Here's a Hermetic, really old picture of Odin, the Reaper, with the clock at midnight. The watches are important, right? For the watchman. The blood moon Seiko is a watch, and Seiko means force, truth. Okay, so now we get to the blood moon that I'm so concerned about on this May 16th, 10 days after this asteroid in 2022, and it's actually at midnight. Okay, this is why I'm going on about the whole midnight thing, is because, this is a very important blood moon in Libra. Now, Libra represents Asteroid, the goddess Asteroid. She was the last titan going around trying to get everybody back to the golden age. and she represents justice. So she's the justice card, and the justice card is Omega. The Fool is Alpha, the justice card is Omega. If you can go back and watch my tarot card video I did explaining all this. Why is this so important, the Alpha Omega? Because in Revelation 22:13, Jesus says, I am Alpha and the Omega, the first and last, the beginning and the end. Now, what I believe, they say Jesus returns in the flesh. I believe we are Jesus and we are walking in his path right now. We're being persecuted. We're the healers. People are ridiculing us, and they basically don't care about us, right? And they will throw us under the bus, and if they have to, stick us up on a cross and kill us and stick a thorn crown on us, because they have no compassion, because we're not following groupthink. And this is basically Jesus's path. So I think we're all Jesus as a collective, right? And that is how you resurrect. You walk through the veil. You basically die through Scorpio, which is, transformation, death. It rules the house of death, transformation. And that's your Pluto, your soul. And you walk through Ophiuchus with your snake, and you come back and then you disappear. This is the whole thing with the pagan pre-Christianity mythology to do with the rites of spring and the helm of Hades, which is the invisible mass. It all ties in to the same story. It's just different layers of the story. And this is where the blood moon was in May of this year. And you see these lines here where it says Descuba. That's the claw or the tail of Scorpio, but it's known as the claw. Okay, so it's saying here about the claw in Scorpio. So in earlier times, Libra was represented not by a balance, but as a claws of Scorpio. At first, Scorpio held the scales in his claw, or his claws were the scales. The Zubin prefix in the name of the stars of Libra is from the Arabic word the claw. So even the Roman created the constellation Chila, which is claw, was a common Roman title for Libra. So so there's definitely the claw was holding the scales, and this ties to Scorpio being your soul, right? So you have to balance your soul and with love, and because Libra's ruled by Venus. Okay, so now that we know that, the claw, there you go. Here's with Trump. Ain't no laws when drinking the claw, right? So it's a drink. It's a MAGA claw drink. Okay, so the symbolism is like unbelievable. So even here they have a machine in, I think it's in Delaware, Donald Trump themed claw machine that includes Dr. Anthony Fauci doll hanging from a paper mask. Okay, like this is like getting nuts. It's like, it's comical. So this midnight blood moon in Libra, also the use means law. Then it goes to the pound, and the lyra ties to Libra. And then the palm of your hand ties to Libra. The name Palamedes or Palam, palm of the hand. Okay, so then, didn't we just have a big giant CME hit the earth, and then the volcano Palma was the one where it exploded because that's where the CME hit? See, so you see what I'm saying? It's like, it's getting like bizarro. So in the pagan tradition, May, when this blood moon is, May 16th, but on May Day, it's the Beltane, right? So what is the Beltane? It's the start of summer celebration. The bonfires represent the growing power of the sun from spring to midsummer. It's also tied to the May Queen and the Green Man. Okay, so there's big bonfires set. But I believe it ties to, it says here it ties to the white woman as well. I believe it's like ascension, right? It's like you're burning, you become the phoenix, which all ties to Dionysus and the rites of spring, which was all tying to the Fantasia movie, right? So it's like spring is ascension. It's your rebirth. So you're born again in spring. So this is why, I was thinking Pi Day was really important. But if Pi Day is in March, it's not really green yet. And this is more for infinity. And I'm starting to think now that that's the end of tribulation. Okay, so if this is blood moon in 6 months from now, would be like mid-trib. Okay, so this is really important. So the Beltane Festival, they had this beautiful festival in Scotland, I think in 2015, this beautiful celebration. And they had naked people, okay, and the green men. And of course, they were burning them like as if they were, the phoenix. So it's the symbolism is there. It all goes to the rites of spring, and it ties to Dionysus. And the green man, Dionysus, he ends up being Pan. Okay, so he's a half goat, half man. Everybody thinks he's the devil. I have an amazing video that a friend in Ireland sent me, one of my subscribers. Amazing video explaining all this. It's an esoteric video from Alan Pittman, and I'll drop that in the link, and how he ended up becoming the devil, but they turned him red. Okay, he's Pan. He's actually Hermes' son with a nymph. Okay, so it's really Dionysus. Okay, in the end, Pan, the green man, Dionysus, they're all the same person. And a huge tradition is to dance around the maypole, and then you can see the green man is there. The maypole would represent the obelisk, like it's really the tree of life. Now, May Day is a word for stress, right? So they said that it came from aider, which is help me in French. Aider is help me. So I don't know, but the point is they're using now as a stress call. But what's so weird is it also ties to a pan call. Now this is also French for paner, a breakdown, indicates an urgent situation such as a mechanical failure or a medical problem. It's called a pan. So this is also, they're tying the green man, the Pan god, to May, right? Because it's ties to May. It's all part of the rites of spring of Dionysus. And of course, they coded all this stuff in James Bond movies. So someone will take care of you, Mayday to James Bond. Mayday was this actress, Grace Jones. And here she is dressed up almost like the Pan, right? She has the horns on her head. Mayday. All the gods loved Pan. They thought he was amazing. And he created the Pan flute. And here he is with all the, the spheres of all the planets. Now his glyph, there's an asteroid, 4450 Pan. And of course it's the Omega symbol. It's Libra again. Libra is the Omega symbol. So is Pan. Okay, now this symbol means death, transformation. 8th house, ruled by Scorpio, Fucius, which is, your transformation. It's Pluto, ruled by Pluto, your soul. So in planets, Pan would be Pluto, because you panic, and Pluto relates to fear, right? It's Mayday, the stress call. It's because you have to learn to transmute your fear so that you pass through this realm. You have to be in bliss state to get out of here. You can't be in fear. You can't be depressed and letting this realm get to you. You just have to be the fool and just go, I'm in bliss. I don't care what's going on. Because this is how you escape this realm, is when you laugh at the devil and you pull the curtain back and you see that in the Wizard of Oz, it's just, a joke. He's not really that powerful. And it's a test. It's a test to your ability to see through the illusion. So even here, the Trump administration got into this thing with the omega protein, recalling fish oil. So it's like fish is your soul, souls are your feet. That's how that's why Pisces is the constellation that rules spirituality. And then they have here with Donald Trump Jr. with Alpha and Omega. So see how they drop it in. It's just a game. And I know it's hard to believe that, and it can cause you to feel like you're not in reality. But you have to understand it's just, we're in like a giant video game, and you need to see how the door opens by believing it can open. If you think that this realm is real and everything is happening is real, and these times that are so pathetic or is just a joke, then you're not going to believe that the door is going to open for you. And you have to believe, and you have to see that this realm is an illusion. We do create with our thoughts and our emotions, right? So we are creating this realm as a whole. So we have to believe that there's another realm. The Alice universe theory, quantum physics. Okay, if you want to Google this, Google non-oriental wormholes. It'll bring you to all this science. Okay, which goes to the Cheshire charge, the cat that disappears in and out of this realm, same as the unicorn. Okay, so it's all science, but it's hypothetical science, but it's still science. So you have to work through this quantum science and understand you're a quantum being. You're able to transcend from this illusion. So they had a watch, a mega Pi Pan constellation watch. So it's a mega constellation, but this watch is called the Pi Pan, and it's because it's like the face of it is like an upside down pie pan, and that's why they call it that supposedly. But I know esoterically it's because it's linked to Omega, right? Pan is linked to Omega, and then they also have Pi, which is like Pi Day also. So they have the two blood moons, the Pan blood moon and the Pi Day blood moon, which is in 2025 on Pi Day, March 14th. This ad, had me going, watch the water, a couple of years ago. And now I understand what it means, because he's being pulled out like on a fish hook out of the water. He's Aquarius. He's being pulled out. He's the Phoenix being pulled out. And this is the Aquarius card, which is the star card, which is what you want, right? You want to be the star. You want to be on the fish hook getting pulled out of the fixed cross. Aquarius, Uranus, the Phoenix. Star card is number 17, letter Q. So Omega has been really busy over the last few decades, showing us, you're basically going to have your wings. You're going to become the Phoenix. They even have here, I choose Omega to be the first watch on the moon. So JFK knew about all this. Yeah. They're all the elite. They know the game. Okay. Then they had Buzz, Aldrin, who was at that executive order signing with Trump all about infinity and beyond, because that's the saying that Buzz Lightyear in the Toy Story movie says. Infinity is Pi Day. And of course he wore the first Omega watch to the moon. If they went to the moon, who the heck knows? But whether they did or they didn't, the watch is involved. This is why the Trump team had Trump with the infinity hand, which was Thanos, and Thanos means death. Okay, because death is like Omega, right? And then he was holding up the Buzz Lightyear doll. And then Jimmy Fallon makes a comment about Trump talking like Buzz Lightyear, like, as a child. Okay, so it's like, they all know. So they relaunched the Omega constellation, which would be Libra. I always wondered why the hands of the clock are at these markers, right? So this watch is called the Seamaster, and they have these numbers on the outside that don't really make sense to me. Maybe it has something to do with naval, I don't know, not sure. But if you look at the outside numbers, it will come to, the number, like, it's like 2 and 3. It's like you got the 3. And then on the other side, you've got like, okay, that's like 21. Is it 20, 21? And then down at the bottom, it's looking like, okay, it's 23 minutes to the hour on the minute hand. And then the other hand is also 23 minutes. So I think they're putting it so it's like the number 23, so that, this is to do with DNA. I don't know. It's just really weird. Maybe you guys have some clues about it, but they always have the hands of the clocks in this kind of like, it's like, I don't know, 8 minutes past 10. So even though it's linking to number 23, maybe 18 goes to the moon card, which is not the good path, right? So the last James Bond movie, is Omega and No Time to Die. And it just came out like last month. Here's the Omega Watch, has it at number 22. So that has it, the year 2022. Or the 22 tarots, with the 0 card being the 22nd card, the Fool card. Yeah, so this is just the trailer, and it's so funny. They go, "Oh, Q, we missed you." I thought that was funny. Okay, so the music that they chose was Billie Eilish. She sang the song. But they also have this other song, the song called Dans la ville endormie. So that means in the city that puts you to sleep. Okay, so... and then Louis Armstrong's song, he had these in other James Bond movies, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. We have all the time in the world. Okay, so this is meaning like, does time exist? You can go watch the actual clip with that song. It's from the old movie. And yeah, so anyhow, it's just all to do with time, right? It's whether you believe time is linear or that you're quantum and you can jump timelines, right? This is what it's all about. You want to be the unicorn, you want to be the Cheshire Cat, you want to escape time so that you become born again and ageless for the 1,000 years in paradise. And you don't want to go to the sleepy smart cities when all this stuff starts to go down. You want to be free, and free as a bird, and free to be the unicorn. And if you think what I just said doesn't sound like science, then you haven't been paying attention to the scientists, the renowned scientists of the world. The one who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd. Those who walk alone are likely to find themselves in places no one has ever been before. Albert Einstein. So Wano Savan, Kid by the Side of the Road book, he has this magazine, he's explaining it, and he shows his face. And he does look like JFK Jr. So anyhow, but they go to this page with Einstein's, E over mc square, right? And he shows the number 17, he shows the L cube. You have to go watch it. It's just a little teeny clip. I'll drop the link. But then he goes, when he starts talking about E over mc square, he talks about MAGA being over corn. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why this is important. I'm going to get into it after, but I just want you to remember this. Okay, there's MAGA over corn. The word corn, yes, we know that's cornucopia, that's the unicorn. It's part of drinking the nectar of the gods, but it also ties into this blood moon. And I will get into that after. But anyway, I just want you to remember this, how, they love Einstein because Einstein created the speed of light equation on the Zavi-Java ascension star, right? And that was an eclipse that happened on that star. So that's really important. So Einstein knows there's another realm, right? That's what his quote means. You don't follow the crowd. You don't follow groupthink. You stand on your own, you become the unicorn, and you'll go places where no one has been before, right? So it's paradise. So there's this old movie from the 60s with Charleston Heston, and it's called The Omega Man. And the whole world has been killed off by a plague. Then there's these hooded guys that, are kind of like the walking zombies. And they're sick. They've got the sores, and but anyhow, they're still alive, but, they're not nice. And then there's Charleston he's the scientist that is trying to come up with a vaccine to save the children that are healthy. There's some children, a group and 2 other people that are healthy, and he's trying to save them. He sits and talks to himself because he thought he was the only person on the planet besides these walking zombies. And this guy that he's talking to, he calls him Caesar. Okay, so it's Julius Caesar, right? He gets stabbed 23 times in the fall of Rome. Washington, D.C. used to be called Rome. Okay, so I'm telling you, the symbolism is literally everywhere. This is way back from the 60s. And then he dies in a fountain, kind of sitting there like Christ with his arms spread, and then he gives of himself the blood or the vaccine, because his chest is bleeding, and he gives himself the people that as he's dying. Okay, so he's being sacrificed on the cross like Odin does in the fountain, and as well as Jesus. Okay, so It's all the same symbolism. Do you notice that he's wearing a green jacket? Then we have the green man that is the Omega Man and the Green Lantern. So that symbolism's out there. You know, this is all to do with the Green Man, which is really Dionysus. There's also a Green Man statue in Gaios Paxo, and this statue commemorates a local hero. Okay, so during the Greek War of Independence in 1821, he rode out with a light torch to set fire to the Turkish fleet, and then he ends up being burnt. That's the end of his story. That he gets burnt alive. Okay, so you get burnt alive, you become the Phoenix. That all ties into the Green Man, right? Which ties into the Beltane Festival, that you get burnt. This is funny. Pan's anniversary. It's called the Shepherd's Holiday. Now, there's a discrepancy about when there was something written, and they didn't know what date it was. But then now there's a scholar saying he argued for the date was January 6, 1691. And of course, January 6 was when, we had the Odin Wild Protest. Because the Wild Protest was Odin's Wild Hunt Day. But it's also Pan's anniversary. So there you go. So if January 6th was the shepherd's holiday, May 6th, the day of this asteroid, is also called Shepherd's Day. The day of, hang on, it's really hard to read here. Yeah, so anyhow, it's Greek. It's the Shepherd's Day, May 6th. And then on May 15th, which is the blood moon, it's the festival of Vesta. Okay, so it ties into a bride crossing the hearth. And then 2 days later, it's the Celtic festival of the Greek god Pan. So May 18th is 2 days after the blood moon, and this is always like there's this 2-day thing with the 17th letter movement. There was always this post going 2 days off. So I'm always wondering what that is, but anyhow, it's 2 days after is the festival of Pan, right after this blood moon. Now Vesta ties into the Vestal Virgins, right? There's a song called that. And so the myth depicting Vesta as a priestess were few and were limited to tales of miraculous impregnation. Yeah, so she's basically like the virgin, right? She's the virgin, Mary. So this ties into, she's the daughter of Saturn and Ops and the sister of Jupiter, Neptune, Pluto, Juno, and Circe. The Greek equivalent is Hestia. But it ties to her appearing, this phalanx appearing as a flame at the hearth, the manifestation of the goddess. So it's like there's a phalanx that impregnates her with, it's like a flame. Okay, so this is the Vestal Virgin. So it has to do, this May 16th, when the blood moon is, right, in Omega, in Libra, it has to do with walking over a threshold. It has to, that's what Vesta means, the festival of Vesta. It's like you're walking, you're taking this ritual and you walk through this door. And the brides were careful not to step on it, like as you step over the hearth into the other realm. Okay, so this is really important that these are all aligning. And here's the Temple of Vesta. Really pretty, old ruins. So when you research music that has Pan in it, Stevie Wonder has a song called Flower Power from his album The Secret Life of Plants. Okay, and then Pink Floyd also had The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. This was a book called The Wild in the Willows, which featured Pan on the cover. So I wanted to look into this Stevie Wonder song because I do believe it's super important. Now the devil card would be Pan, right? He's Capricorn. Now Capricorn is Saturn. There's Saturn and Vesta together on this blood moon on May 15th, which is, to do with the goddess Vesta celebration day. And the reason I think it's so important is because the May blood moon on May 16th in 2022 is called the flower moon. Okay, so he's got the flower power song, and he's got Pan in it, okay, in the lyrics. Now here's the flower moon saying that it's also corn. It's also known as the corn moon. So now we get the corn from the Wano Savan, right? The corn, yes, it relates to the unicorn, but it also relates to the May blood moon. And he says, Pan is my name. I live outside the door. This is Vesta, right? She's the door. Then he says, in a twinkling, I'll be gone. And then he goes, yeah, Suki, Suki. And I was like, I wonder what Suki, Suki is. And Suki means lily rose. Well, rose is your DNA. So your DNA gets activated. Flower power, all through the 60s, is talking about this blood moon. It's a flower blood moon. Okay, in 2022, it's 6 months away. And all these old songs, and they're all relating to this. Then there's a movie that came out last year with De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio called The Killers of the Flower Moon. Okay, so this is not a coincidence, guys. This is like really important. This is the Pan Festival. It's the rite of spring. The spring triangle is what Washington D.C. aligns to Freemasonry wise. You know, it's the Washington Monument is the Spica Star, and the you guys have, I've told you guys this 1,000 times. The Arcturus star in boots is King Arthur. It aligns to the White House. The Capitol building is Regulus. This is the spring triangle. The rites of spring ties to Pan, ties to Dionysus and becoming free and immortal. That's what it's all built around. With the flower moon. Now we've got the flower moon. It's all tied to the flower moon. The Killers of the Flower Moon movie was actually about the murders of all these Native American people that were on a reserve or on the land which was rich with oil. So they started to become really wealthy, and then all of a sudden they started to get murdered. So then the FBI ended up coming into fruition because of these murders. So it's really like the Lost Tribe. It was the Osage tribe. So the Lost Tribe, it's almost like in reference to the tribe disappeared, right? And this is to do with the tribe of Dan in the Bible. At this time when the veil opens, this tribe of Dan disappears. It's the, they disappeared at Tinanog. It's like they go to the inner earth or wherever, and then they're no longer part of this matrix anymore. But it's interesting how they're tying the movie in, because this tribe disappeared. So the Capitol building is part of the Spring Triangle, right? And it has this amazing painting with George Washington and Ceres she's just on top of this kind of straw pile where the rainbow comes down. She's like the goddess of the harvest. But this other goddess that's on her knees picking flowers is Flora. So for the flower moon, this is all tying into Flora. Now, Flora Festival is in April 27th to May 3rd. Okay, so this ties into the Beltane, but it's in May, right? So it has to do with the May moon, the flower moon. It's also being observed. It's being called May Day. Right, so it's the May devotions is blessed to the Virgin Mary, which is what we talked about this. The best known modern May Day traditions observed both in Europe and North America include dancing around the maypole. So she ties to the maypole, but she also ties to Dionysus. So it's saying here the mysteries of Dionysus and Aphrodite. And so, like they actually had orgies, so there's sexual energies that they're using, and I think this is all done to heal people. So yeah, and it's tied to the Beltane. So she's the flora, is all tied to the flower moon in May and the May Queen, and she's on this painting. at the Hypothesis of Washington at the Capitol building. She's also known as the goddess Florelia. So this special blood moon, on this map it's saying it's May 16th because it's right at midnight, but it's really May 15th. So I want to go through past things that have happened on May 15th, and of course it's all tied to spirituality. So May 15th, George Bush invites the Queen to an Oakland, a Baltimore Oriole game, okay, baseball game. So she goes to the baseball game with the Queen's mother as well. This was in May 15th, 1991. Now, the reason it ties to spirituality is because in the Old World, the Orialde, the Oriole bird, derives from Latin Aurealis, which means golden. The genus name Ecterus is from ancient Greek, the yellow bird. So it's the golden oriole. Okay, so it's the golden bird. It's basically, the phoenix. You're burning. So that's why they went to the Oriole game. And they're saying this is, in reference to when her parents went there, King George VI and his wife Elizabeth, to the United States in June 1939, as Franklin Roosevelt had invited them. No reigning British monarch had set foot on American soil before. So 1939 was the year that they did that big ritual to Eva Maria song being sung, which I did in my last video, right? Which all ties into the Fantasia movie and the rites of spring, right? So it goes back to Dionysus. But here he is sitting with J.P. Morgan, right? The elite. In recent times, on May 15th, we had the Shrek movie. It won an award. Of course, Shrek is the Green Man. Then they had Revenge of the Sith, which is the Star Wars movie. I don't know anything about that movie. And then they had this Eurovision Song Contest where they had a singing called Wild Dancers in Istanbul. So I wanted to see what that was, to see if there was any symbolism there. It's actually biblical because they had the 4 trumps playing. Okay, so they got the 4 trumps, and then they do this kind of pagan dance, almost like a Beltane dance with the flames, and it's kind of referencing to the rites of spring again, which is the festival to Pan. Very religious day, May 15th, 1891, the Pope publishes something. 1931, another Pope publishes something on this day. In 1961, Pope John the 23rd, 23 being DNA. So we have 3 popes publishing their works on May 15th. 1957, Operation Grabble. Britain tests its first hydrogen bomb near Christmas Island in the Indian Ocean. So there again, Christmas, Christ, and the bomb. May 15th, George Harrison releases Wonderwall in 1968. Now, Wonderwall, his album cover is really interesting. It's the divide of the 2 realms. So the Wonderwall, right? They're all bathing in the Kumbh Mela, which is like the nectar of the gods. They're in the river bathing, and they're free, and there's, greenery, and then there's this guy, business guy, stuck in the matrix behind the brick wall. And that's why Trump keeps going on about the wall, the wall. And you see he has clouds. So the clouds is Neptune in Pisces right now. People's minds are in the cloud. Everybody's not in reality. Like, we're like living out of the matrix. They're like pretending the matrix is normal. Okay, so nobody's like in touch with reality really, but it's also metaphysical. You can transform through Neptune. It's creative. But that's what the clouds mean. Your head is in the clouds. So this is Neptune, and this is why Trump has a Neptune statue outside Mar-a-Lago. And then George Harrison releases another song on May 15th in 1981 releasing all those years ago. So it's almost like, go back and look at all those years ago. I dropped something here with this Wonderwall. So Oasis did a song in 1995 called Wonderwall, and it's referencing to this song as well. Now, the Wonderwall film was this Danish band called The Fool. There we got the Fool card again. And they actually mention the tarot cards in here. And you can go listen to their songs. They're actually really nice. It's just this Danish band has this one album. So the trailer, there's tons of symbolism in it. There's actually like a guy like Einstein, and he's like a scientist, and he's looking at this woman, and I'm just like, okay, that's Virgo, right? And he's looking at this woman on the wall with a sunspot on it. You can say that would be Einstein's speed of light when he had the sun and the eclipse happening on Zabijava. And I'm like, okay, that looks like that. So I was just like intuitively reading that. And the next thing they do is he's looking at a star. Okay, so instantly they're looking at the star. So I'm like, okay, that's all aligning. Then they have Superman in there because you become Superman. They have the White Lady, right? She's like the green lady. Then she marries. She's the bride. She marries the Einstein guy. Then they have the kiss of death, like the lipstick on him. And then Oasis, the Wonderwall song, has the clown, the Fool card, with the blue hat, which is like you burn blue, it means you're ascended. And then, so it's all there. They've done it. Like, it's amazing. And it's gone through, decades. The symbolism from one performer to another, showing us what the Wonderwall is. The symbolism's everywhere. So there's this song from Jack White. It's called Connected by Love. And they have this thing looming in the sky, and the news is talking about it. It's like an asteroid coming in. Right? Or you could say it's a blood moon, but to me, it looked like an asteroid in the video. And they're all worried, and, everybody's freaking out like it's the end of days. They also have the twin symbolism in there, and they end up killing a deer, a sacrifice. And then the twins reunite with the mother. So it's all very symbolic. So something crashing into Earth, they're showing it in lots of different videos. So maybe there is an asteroid coming, that this NASA was talking about. So who knows? I don't know. All I know is the symbolism. So the funny thing about May 15th, there's all these different holidays. There's Armed Forces Day. There's Doodah Day. There's National Chocolate Chip Day. That's important because I found a link to that. Spring Astronomy Day. So, and then Peace Officers Memorial Day. Any police officers being shot or anything. And then Plant a Lemon Tree. This is all May 15th. So the whole chocolate chip thing was kind of weird because Stephen Colbert had this video he did with Trump making fun of him about Russia flag. And then they have Trump speaking, mimicking, and he's saying, I'm never going to eat an Oreo again. But they don't have an Oreo. They have the chocolate chip cookie. Well, the chocolate chip cookie represents May 15th. Now we know. Okay, so it's a holiday. And I wonder when they made him say Oreo, is it the Oriole bird, right? The Oriole instead of the Oreo. It's just funny. It's just crazy. And Stephen Colbert, he's brutal, right? He's just like 2 days ago. He goes, Trump tells senators that he's not into golden showers. So they create this whole pee episode on his show. But yeah, so Trump just dropped again. He's not into golden showers. So that's to do with phosphorus and, the whole thing about, trying to come back and save people. But those people that don't take the right path will not have memory. So maybe he's saying that. I'm not into the golden showers. I want people to ascend instead. So he ends up talking about pee-pee. He talks about Superman. So this is all to do with the Wonderwall freaking film. Okay, so that happens to be on May 15th. So, Doctor, no, thank you. I don't need a bathroom. I'll just pee on the bed. So he's bringing 007 into it again as well. This all happened 2 days ago on Stephen Colbert's show. So I'm just like, what? Like, it's nuts, right? It's just like they know the true symbolism and then they mock it. So phosphorus, yes, is urine. Yes, it's activates DNA. Okay, and it tends to make you smarter, right? If you have some right amount of phosphorus in your body, so it ties to the pineal gland as well. So this is why they mention urine, right? Because it's to do with phosphorus. And I couldn't believe it. Somebody sent me this video about the Green Man. This guy is brilliant. Okay, he's a Buddhist. He's a yoga teacher, and he was the bodyguard for the Dalai Lama. Okay, so he's a very spiritual person. And he did this whole video, probably maybe 20 years ago or so, all about the Green Man. And you have to go watch it because it's fascinating the way he explains it all. And then in the middle of the video, he starts talking about carbon and how it's got phosphorus in it. And I'm like, oh my God, he's bringing phosphorus into this. So then he's saying here it's almost like the Grail, and it's made of a mineral. And the mineral is like green, right? And it says the emerald and the red blood written in emerald grape, so that there's someone called the Green King. He's talking about all the reference to this esoteric knowledge in our bodies. So you have to go watch it. So he brings up phosphorus. I was just blown away. It's the first person I've heard talk about phosphorus. I can't play the video because I'll get striked, but whenever he says he was reading, it's all about this, Celtic king of purity. And then he says, it's next spring when we all lose our heads. And the chlorophyll using creature for energy was that happens obviously in the blood, disappears, and it's replaced with something. So he's talking about the blood being replaced with chlorophyll. It might be part of the fuel mechanism for the glorified body. Okay, so what he's saying is, remember I talked about the pale horse, that the pale horse is really chlorophyll. It's like it's chlorophyll in Greek, which means green. So the pale horse is really green. So the whole thing about the Green Man, like when you transcend, your blood gets changed. So like you transform and you go into this phosphorus state, and it becomes like almost like chlorophyll, right? So that's why maybe you turn green. It's like because you have the plant inside you, right? And it's like that's why Stevie Wonder did that album about the lives of plants, right? The Flower Power album. So anyhow, I'm just like, you have to watch this. I'll drop the link. It's absolutely brilliant. It's about an hour long, but it's so well done. So there was a patient in Canada, 42-year-old white Canadian, who developed nerve damage by restricting his blood flow to his lower legs after falling asleep in a sitting position. And he was taking these migraine headache, medication called somatriptan for migraines. So anyhow, so the doctors start working on him because I guess he needed to be in surgery, and his blood came out green. So they went and looked at in the lab, and they kind of figured out that there wasn't enough oxygen getting to the blood from this medication that he was taking. So this medication can end up making your blood turn green. But I was just like fascinated by this because it's like, it has to do with the mythology that you turn green. And they're saying here that the blood actually can turn blue as well. So like blue blood, like the blue man, they have the blue man and the green man. The blue and the green is what's important, right? That's the colors you want to be. The lack of oxygen in the blood less often is caused by high methaglobin, which differs from normal hemoglobin in the oxygen carrying ferrous iron. So it has to do with iron. Anyhow, you guys can look into it. I can barely read it, it's so small. But anyhow, so you need to just understand that this is all part of esoteric knowledge, is that when this event happens, I guess that's how you transform and you become the green blue people. They showed us that in the Avatar movie, right? So here they're talking about aluminum also significantly decreases inorganic phosphorus levels in the serum by 19%. So if you're taking aluminum-based products, or the jab, this would affect your phosphorus levels. And I think the phosphorus levels are really important in the brain so that you can activate. So I think this is part of the whole thing. And I've explained before that I think that eventually the harvested people will be harvested for their urine. It's the nectar of the gods. It's the gold of this realm. And I think whoever is controlling this realm, the Anunnaki, which were spoken about in the Sumerian texts and everything, whoever is controlling this realm needs that nectar for them to be able to continue, because they're not creators like we are. We can create anything we want just by believing in it. But the whole thing is they control the human consciousness by fear, and they control us to believe that everything happening here is like just random. But once you see through the illusion, you realize like this is all a bunch of BS, and I can create whatever I want. And so it's important that we start creating this doorway to this magical realm. We have to start focusing on it, especially if it's going to happen in 6 months from now. I'm just kind of like, whoa, this is not what I was expecting. But this is how the download came to me, and I'm presenting it to you. So we just have to see. If nothing happens, nothing happens. But it feels like things are ramping up. Like we're getting isolated, and I can't see them keeping this for another 3 years the way we're living. Like, I'll be shocked if we have to live in isolation for 3 years for this process to happen, because the people that have taken the Jabberwocky, they're just kind of like living like normal lives. Like nothing's wrong. So they're going to start to create more fear for them, because they're just like thinking everything's going back to normal, and they're going to have to create some more drama for them, right? If we just leave the matrix and just start living on our own, it's not enough drama, because it's almost like we don't have the energy to keep fighting the system. We know the system that's what they want, so why fight it? People want more security. People want more corporeality outside of their bodies instead of doing the inner work. So we can't change that. It's impossible. So anyhow, that's just my thoughts on it all, and it just seems everything's ramping up. So if it's happening in 6 months, and the ascended souls are supposed to leave halfway through tribulation. You're supposed to. And you're supposed to watch it from afar. So, yeah, it makes sense. The timeline makes sense. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the jab is reference to the Jabberwocky. He's a creature, an evil creature that bites you, and he's in the Alice in the Looking Glass novels. Another weird coincidence that phosphorus is number 15 and the blood moon is on the 15th. Now, May in Celtic tradition is the hawthorn month, right? The hawthorn is this prickly bush. It's like nice little white flowers, but they're very powerful mythology to the fae, to the fairy people, okay, to the other realm. It's their tree because they protect themselves underneath it. So this is also connecting really esoterically to spring, the rite of spring. So they're saying here it's the most difficult night when Angus calls hawthorn whitening of the face, a moment when the face goes white at the thought of the challenges that lie before. So yeah, it ties to the May Queen and the Oak King, which is really esoteric. So hawthorn is traditionally being used as a tree of protection. And it's being used as the crowning of the May Queen. So this is a hawthorn crown, right? It's a crown of thorns. I have them on my property, hawthorn bushes, and they're really, really prickly. Like the needles on them are hard as a rock. But when I was looking at this, I was like, the hawthorn crown. Oh my God, it's the crown of Christ, right? Look, when you Google the crown of Christ, it's the same thing. So the hawthorn month, it relates to Aquarius, which is like the phoenix, Aries, this is your crown chakra, and Gemini, the twins, one's immortal. Ties to the planet Mars, which also rules Scorpio, right? Which is, ties to Ophiuchus, the doorway out of here. The day is Saturday. Okay, so now they're talking about here that the goddesses are Brigid, Danu, and Frigid, which is Norse mythology. So, and it also ties to the fairies, the magical beings, the fairies. Prometheus is also the flame, which has to do with, ascension. And the animals is the hedgehog and the wolf. I've seen a lot of wolf symbolism, and now I know where it ties to. So it ties to the Hawthorn month, which is May. So the Danu is a goddess. The Danu, meaning Dan, right? The Tuatha De Dan, which is the Dan, which is Dan, DNA, Dan. Okay, so she's the goddess mother of the Tuatha De Dan. So this is all to do with Celtic tradition, and they disappear, right? They're the tribe that disappears. They're known as the snakes, and St. Patrick chased them out of Ireland because he chased the snakes away. So look at her symbolism here. She has the Triskelion, which is the Odin symbol, right? There's the three spirals, and then she has the nectar of the gods, and she's, presenting that. So, wow, and she's got the moon at her head, so it all ties to the moon. So I'm just like, whoa. So I'm kind of like, 6 months from now, is this what's going to happen? Like, it's starting to like, so we'll have to just keep watching the symbolism and seeing what goes on, but it's definitely an eye-opener for me. And there's another blood moon in November in 2022, but then there's none until Pi Day. So it's either, next year, or we're just waiting it out till Pi Day. So on March 14th, 2025, which is a long way. Like, I'm like, oh, it's getting too long now for with them torturing us and them just living normal. Something has to give. Something has to, and it feels like it. It feels like we're right at the calm before the storm. For me, that's what it feels like. Something's going to bust soon, because they can't segregate the whole world like this and expect everything just to carry on, right? And so that's the timeline. And it's not going to go back to normal. It's never going back to normal. It's going to more surveillance, more, security, because that's what people are opting for. They want more security, the masses. They don't want to do the inner work. They don't want to work with their fears. They just want somebody else to fix their fears so they can get back to normal and be distracted and live a normal life. But that's not what's happening right now. This is a spiritual war, and they need to choose their path, but I don't think they're going to keep them all calm and happy for the next 3 years. Something's going down. So this is what I put together. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe so my channel gets more traction. See the mark happen on everybody, or we leave beforehand? That's the question, right? We're segregated. We now cannot enter, and we cannot buy and sell. And that was part of what we had to witness. Now, are we going to witness them take the mark? I don't know. I'm not sure about that timeline. So we just have to wait and see how it all goes. But if you want any readings, let me know. It's quieting down a little bit, and it's always good to know your life path, and it just makes you feel more secure in standing in your truth. Bliss to you guys. Thanks. Bye.